Do you remember when the Five Nights at Freddy's movie was announced? It was announced back in 2015, and after 8 years of delays after delays and rewrites, it was finally released. So was it worth the wait? Or did they ruin it? But what even happened for us to wait 8 years for it to release? Well, in 2015, Warner Brothers announced that they would make a movie adaptation with Scott Cawthon. After several delays, the director dropped out of the project, and in 2017, Blumhouse was announced to be the new production company. A few more delays, and then the new director dropped out again, and then in 2022, Emma Tammy was announced as the director of the project. And then news about the movie started ramping up. They announced the cast, and we started getting set photos, and then a date. October 27th, 2023. Look, I wouldn't call myself a diehard FNAF fan, it's just that I grew up with it, so it kinda has a special place in my heart because of nostalgia. Like every other fan, I was watching Markiplier Let's Plays and game theory as a kid, but I only played a few of the games, so my knowledge of the lore is pretty limited. I don't know everything there is to know about FNAF, but I think I still have a pretty good grasp on the appeal of the gameplay and lore of these games.
This nigga full purple, nigga. My man's so scared, he behind the crib. He in the backyard looking over like, damn.
So with that being said, I have a gripe with the games, and I was really worried that they would do the same mistake with the movie franchise. My gripe is that the story in the games is like this puzzle with missing pieces. Instead of each game having its full and self-contained story, and then the sequels or prequels having their own story but building onto the overall lore, I feel like each game is just a few pieces of the same puzzle, and so it always seems like an incomplete story. And it makes sense when you think about how a lot of the important story beats were in Easter eggs. There's gotta be people out there who did play a few of the games but has no fucking clue what the story is about. My worry was that this movie would try to set up the overall story without really being a self-contained experience, kind of like how it is right now with Marvel. In order to understand Spider-Man No Way Home, you have to watch so many movies, and it's great for the fans, but for most people it has to be a bit of a turnoff when you can't just watch it with everyone else. You have to catch up on every single movie beforehand. And I think there is a great argument to be made that for FNAF, the puzzle with the missing pieces is kind of the whole appeal of the games. You can theorize and try to find out what really happened, and it's nice when you finally have that one puzzle piece that explains everything. But I don't think that would translate well to the medium of cinema. So did they make that mistake? Let's start by talking about the cinematography. I actually have nothing but good things to say about the cinematography. It's actually pretty solid. I've never heard of the cinematographer before, but I really like the framing of the shots, especially with close-ups. Even in mundane conversations, it gives off this eerie and creepy feeling, like something is off. And that's just great visual storytelling. Not only do the suits look great, but yeah, the fact that they're practical is perfect for the story. One thing that I'll say though, it's clear that this was a deliberate artistic choice and not a mistake, but in the first game, we almost never see the animatronics move on screen, and that's part of the appeal of the gameplay. You're stuck there with danger coming from all sides, and these animatronics are trying to get to you without you noticing. The horrifying feeling in the first game when you're checking under the camera and then you hear Foxy just go on a full sprint towards you and you have to close the door while panicking. No. This movie relies a lot on making the animatronics feel menacing by framing them as these big metallic monsters instead of using the approach of the games, where they are these sneaky little shits that move quickly when you're not looking and that creep up on you to jump scare you. Now, with the sound of the movie, I don't have much to say about it. I didn't recognize any of the licensed music during the movie, and the score didn't really stick with me. But look, I don't know if this ruins the surprise for you if you haven't watched the movie yet, but they used the Living Tombstone song as the end credits. Words cannot even explain the feeling I had when the song started playing. It just felt like everything led up to this moment. I just had this big stupid smile on my face. Also, I love the sound design of the movie. Every time the animatronics would move, you would hear their janky metal insides clanking and creaking. And I love the fact that they use the same jump scare sound from the games. That sound has become so iconic. I would have been so mad if they changed it. Now when it comes to the story, this is where things are not so great. This movie was a lot of setting up and little to no payoff. It's a shame because they had such a good thing going and they made the mistake that I was worried they were gonna make. This movie feels like the first episode of a TV show. When the movie ends and it ends on a cliffhanger, it feels like they expect you to go watch the next episode because of how incomplete it felt. The climax is so underwhelming, and there were many moments that didn't feel earned at all. A lot of the things that were set up ended up not paying off, and there were also a lot of things that weren't set up at all and still happened out of the blue. Like the reveal of who the main antagonist is felt so out of the blue. If you didn't know anything about the games, they barely put any clues or foreshadowing to make the reveal satisfying if you got it right. It kind of just happens. The pacing of the movie also felt a little off. There was a lot of time spent on things that could have been way quicker, and a lot of things that was too quick that needed a bit more time. So with all of that being said, I think if you're a fan of FNAF or know at least a little bit about the games, this movie is a 6 out of 10. It could have been so much better. But for anyone else, I'd rate the movie even lower than that. I don't know how enjoyable it would be without all the references. We've been pretty blessed with video game movies recently. We've been getting a lot of them actually. So if you're a fan of sim racing and you've also watched or plan to watch the Gran Turismo movie, you should watch my video on it where I explain the problem with it being a true story and how I'm actually surprised no one is talking about it. Anyway, see you.